Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about something that people have asked me multiple times to help them with, and that's trailer lights. So I want to go through a 4-pin connector, the most simple trailer wiring today, and just explain how everything works. And I'm actually going to show how I like to crimp wires together, the tools I use, the crimps I use, the heat shrink I use, everything to keep everything clean and away from corrosion. I just have some lights out of my junk pile. These are junky lights I don't really want anything to do with, but they're perfect for a demonstration. Pull the old damaged cord. It's still, the wiring still works, so I can explain what each of these wires does on this, and how the plug works. All right, guys, so I have these wires on this plug. I'm going to show you what each one of them does. So this white one is your ground. It actually goes, on most trailers, you're going to take it straight to your chassis. And that way the whole trailer is grounded. So I like to take this to a spot where I can grind down, put a nice strong screw in, and that wire will ground out the entire trailer to match the ground of your vehicle, just like your vehicle grounds out to the negative. I also, when I wire trailers, I like to run a white wire to each light that goes back to that, so it's like an extra caution, because the ground wire usually causes the most problems for people. If you lose that ground, you lose everything. So these brown wires right here, they're brown. They have other colors on them, green and yellow, which matches these two colors. So these are called the tail and marker wires. So the yellow wire is going to be associated with this one. It doesn't really matter. They go to the same pin. If you were to swap those two wires, it wouldn't matter at all. But these two wires are just for your tail lights and your markers. So when you flip your lights on at night, you'll see a dimmer light come on the back, and all your marker lights come on. That is what powers those, is the brown wire. Some plugs only have one wire coming out. Some have two wires coming out, like this one. Just makes it more convenient. The yellow is for your left brake and blinker, and so that's going to be the left side. The green wire is going to be your right brake and blinker. So it's the same signal, it's just your car is flashing that signal when you turn your blinker on. I have these crimpers right here. These are made by iCrimp. They come with multiple sets of jaws. I really like these. You have crimps for just about every different type of connector you're going to use. I'm going to show you these crimps right here. They're bare crimps. I'm going to show you how I heat shrink them, and that this helps keep things clean and prevent corrosion. You really want to prevent corrosion in trailer wiring. Trailer just sits outside, runs through water, gets all wet, and that corrosion is what ends up making it so your trailer lights don't work. So I'll go ahead and start wiring this up, and you can see how this will work. All right, guys, I have some wires stripped here, and I just want to show you how these are going to go together. So these two wires here, it all depends. Some lights just have two wires, some have a white wire. We're going to have to hook the white to that post because these don't have a ground wire on them. This just grounds to the chassis of the trailer. But these two here, one is for the tail light and one is for this marker on the side right here. So if we take these wires and we put those in there, see these crimpers, these are made, like I said, for bare crimps. It's going to give us a nice, strong connection. And if I can get that up here in the camera, you can see it puts a dent, and it comes from 3 sides basically. Really strong. You can't pull that off. It takes a lot of force to pull that off. Now this heat shrink right here is a marine grade, and when I heat this up you'll see that it has an adhesive in it, and the adhesive is going to ooze out once it shrinks around it and try and glue everything shut. You want to slip a piece of heat shrink over that, and like we said, these are the tail and marker lights. So we're going to get our brown wire, put it in there, same thing, get a nice solid crimp on that. Those wires are locked in there, and you can see that mechanical crimp, and it's much more heavy duty than what you get elsewhere from cheaper crimps and crimp tools that push holes through your insulation and stuff. So now I got a heat gun right here. I'll heat this up and you'll be able to see that insulation. All right. If you can, I don't know if I can get the camera to focus on that or not, but if you can see the end right here, you should be able to see that insulation or that adhesive oozing out. I don't know, you can kind of see it there glistening. That adhesive glues that in place. All right, just to show you guys on a different crimp. So these are those bare crimp jaws, and I have this insulated crimp. I'm just going to use this to tie it to simulate the chassis on these lights, but it is insulated. And so cool part about these crimpers, you can just pop these jaws right off. Has a little chart in here, tells you which one you should use. It says the 125 is for the insulated. Pop those in. Now you've got crimps for an insulated crimp. So if you're doing heat shrink crimps or just regular insulated crimps and you want them to work right without damaging this, you use those crimps. And then all the color coding on it. It's a nice clean crimp. Didn't damage the insulation at all. Just makes it, and it closes it down nice and tight. Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, we're ready to test this out. Let me, this camera flipped around. Okay, so simulate if you were standing at the back of the trailer. You have your right and your left lights. Each of them has a marker light, or simulate a marker light back here. So if you were to have your running lights on, just your lights on, not your brake lights, that's what you would get. And has your marker and your marker. So those are working. But if you were to hit your right blinker, or your brake, which is your brake signal comes from the same wire, it turns on. That one just went brighter. So the blinker would be blinking like that, or if you hit the brake switch, both of these would come on bright like that. And then obviously the left blinker. So now I'm going to reiterate what each of these wires is that does that. We have the white wire. It comes to the back here. That acts like our chassis ground, since we don't have a chassis that anything's hooked to. So you would run that directly to the ground. And like I said, I like to run wires to each light if I can, just to ensure that it's not having to go through the trailer chassis to run. But that's how it's done on a lot of trailers, is run right through the chassis. So we have the white wire. This green wire is going to go to your right light. The brown wire that's attached to the green wire, but like I said, either brown could go there and it would work because it goes to the same pin. That brown wire comes down to the tail marker lights. Same thing on the other side. You have a yellow wire and a brown wire. That yellow wire comes, that's your brake light with your turn signal. And then you have your running lights, which is going to be your marker light and your tail light. So really simple. A lot of people get turned around when they're troubleshooting a trailer because they can't get things to work. A lot of times, I will say almost most of the time, it's either corrosion on the plug or corrosion in a connector, but so much of the time it's the ground. The ground needs to be present for any of those lights to work, and it has to be referenced back to the vehicle. This box simulates a vehicle, and I have my negative hooked up on my battery to the negative on this plug, and everything works together as one ground. Your vehicle is the exact same. It needs to work together as one ground all the way back through the trailer. And so if you're troubleshooting and you're not getting lights, the ground is a culprit because none of your lights are working. If a couple of your lights are working but one's out, then you start to wonder about connections. Thanks for joining me today.